here we frickin' go. So, as many of you probably know, especially if you're in the United States, tomorrow in my area, by the way, Brandon here, gardener, growing things in Southeast Texas, southeast of Houston, Zone 9B. And tomorrow evening, we have got a serious cold front blowing in. And oh, I'm really just not in the mood. I've got the sad going on right now. Seasonal depressive disorder, whatever. And yeah, it's because it sucks watching everything die back, but most of what I grow is going to come back from the roots and doesn't really need a lot of help to do that. Could use it, but anyways, I want to kind of show you guys what I am going to do today. And even though I really don't aim to do a lot of protecting things, I'm going to show you a few things that you can do to protect some plants if you want. But first, I guess let me get this to the greenhouse. Okay, so I don't want to go into a ton of detail about this because I don't want to be your safety instructor. I am doing what I think is best here, and it's worked for me for a few years now, but I feel like this is kind of dangerous. I try to be as safe as possible, but I heat the greenhouse with propane. I was super scared of using propane at first. I've become more comfortable with it, but the reason that I use propane instead of an electric heater is because I don't really have proper electricity coming out to the greenhouse. I've got extension cords. I don't even want to show you because it's bad and it's embarrassing. But what I want to talk to you about real quick is how I figure out how much I need to heat the greenhouse. So I've done tests over the years to see how long the greenhouse holds the heat in. And let me just tell you, it's not good, mostly because the skirting around the greenhouse is metal. I have gone and sealed the greenhouse as much as I can, especially before last year's winter, because that's when I repaired the greenhouse. You can check out that video about the greenhouse to see how that went. But after fixing all of the air leaks, so there's not air just flowing through, freely out of the greenhouse, I'm left with the fact that the metal skirting pulls the heat out of the greenhouse and lets the cold in. And basically, if I don't heat the greenhouse, the temperature equalizes with the outside. The other night when it got to 27 outside, I believe the low temperature in here was 34 degrees. Not great. So what I do is I run the heater on as low as possible. I've got two types of heaters here. The sunflower that you put on top of the tank, this thing is super powerful, and it's also not so indoor friendly. So I try not to use this one if I don't have to. I got this one on emergency status a few years ago, and it's a mistake to wait till the last minute. I waited to the last minute yesterday to exchange my propane tanks. By the way, a quick tip, because I have so much anxiety about things. You can get the tanks refilled cheaper at Tractor Supply if you're local Houston. I don't know how many places. If you find a place that refills propane, it's a lot cheaper, or at least a little cheaper than exchanging the tanks. But you do get a tank that has been tested and it's all safe and ready to go if you exchange it. But what I like to use now is the indoor safe buddy heater. I have this smaller one that you can hook up a small propane tank to, and this small tank will last a whole night usually if it's full, if I keep it on like low, but that's not really efficient enough to keep the greenhouse heated. I only have to do a few nights a year heating the greenhouse. So, I would love to have something like a wood stove in here and grow the wood to actually heat the greenhouse, but wood stoves are expensive. Maybe I'll build one someday. I've seen people build them out of propane tanks, but that's a little bit of work, and my attention span is not great. So I don't want to talk too much more about this because, again, I don't want to be your safety instructor, but I'm going to heat the greenhouse with propane overnight during the nights where it's the coldest, and if I have to leave for work in the mornings, usually a big freeze like this coincides with not having to go to work because the roads are iced over, but if I do have to go to work, it's at 5 in the morning, and I turn this off before I leave, and I have set up cameras before watching the thermometer, and I've watched as the temperature fell, and luckily, as long as the sun is going to come up that day, as soon as the sun does come up, it's enough to take over for having the heater off and keep the greenhouse above freezing. And also, usually down here in the south, as soon as the sun comes up, it goes above freezing anyways. What I wanted to try to do now is show you a little bit of what I'm doing outside of the greenhouse. As I have stated, almost all of the plants that I grow currently will come back on their own from the roots, or maybe they will reseed. I'm really more of a perennials person, but there are some plants that I really enjoy, and I want to put lots of them out into the garden next year. Every year that changes a little bit. Last year was a lot of salvias and lantanas. Now I'm having a problem with the lantanas, and the plants that I'm enjoying the most are the mist flowers, especially my weird little possible hybrid that I have here. This plant is just incredible. It brings me a lot of joy, and it's just, I want to do like a profile on this plant, but it's got icy blue flowers versus the, this one here is the Monarch Magic. It's got more of a purple, kind of darker flower, and I know that the difference is so subtle, but I just really love this one. So I'm not going to worry so much about what happens to the main plant. I think that this one is going to come back from the roots okay. It's the parent plant did that last year. I actually didn't even think I was going to like this plant, but this year I have really just, I've come to love it, and I've been taking this one and spreading it around everywhere. So I'm going to save as much of it as possible. I wish I had some rooted examples to show y'all, but basically if you look here at what we actually have is we have multiple long stems coming off of the main stem, and I am going to cut each one of those into a few cuttings to go in the propagator or possibly into a box. I'm not likely to save the big giant piece. Now sometimes if I'm in a real hurry, I will just throw everything into the container and then process it in the greenhouse later. But it really is better if you can just kind of pre-process things a little bit so that you're not doing a ton later. But that's just, it's all a matter of preference. So I'm going to go around to this. I might show you a few other things I'm going to save, but to be honest with you, I'm trying to take a more passive approach this year. If it lives, it lives. I'm trying to save most of my tropicals, but there are some that I might leave out to the freeze this year just to wipe the slate kind of more clean and move more towards plants that actually are mostly native, handle the cold okay, or come back from the roots that I don't really have to panic about. Because in prior years, it's a major crap show having to run around and throw everything into the greenhouse or in the garage, and I'm just kind of done with that. I don't want it. Let's see. Let's take a look at another plant that I might propagate. So this salvia is looking pretty awesome right now. I'm not very good at saving cultivar names, y'all, but I'm pretty certain that this one is called Purple and Bloom. I was really impressed with this one by the greenhouse last year, and so I threw some of it into the greenhouse and before freeze, and now it's here. So I think I am going to go ahead and save a little bit more of this. These do reliably come back from the base of the plant. I actually cut this one back really hard this year, and I did that more or less in the fall. You can see these broken branches here, and these big stems with the beautiful flowers are a result of that cutback. And this one very reliably comes back from the ground. So this plant will be here, but if I didn't take cuttings and make a few more, it's just kind of a missed opportunity to have this gorgeousness or have more of it. So this is another one that I will be taking cuttings of. Let's go look at another salvia. This one is actually behind you, so let's just not even do a jump cut. We'll just go straight to it. So this one is called Blue Chill, and this is a real favorite this year. I believe I got it in the spring or midsummer last year, and I'm just very, very in love with this one. It's incredible. I mean, y'all, I don't do cut flowers, but if you did cut flowers, like, gosh, this plant is so tough too. It's crazy, but yeah, this is another one that I'm going to add a bunch of cuttings to the greenhouse of, and I'm gonna do a lot of the processing on these later, but I just go ahead and pop the flowers off, let them fall in place. I have a number of these now in different areas, and I'm honestly going to do more cutting of them later. There are also a number of plants that I do like, but I'm choosing where I put my energy, and I'm going to show you one of those now because it's really close to this one. So this one here is called, let's see if I can get it in frame enough. This one has a name similar to the Purple in Bloom. This is Black in Bloom. I found this one in a number of places last year. Walmart had a ton of them on clearance, so I bought a bunch of them. And I really didn't like it that much at first, but it's kind of grown on me, and a lot of the salvias really look their best in the fall or the spring, and then in the summer they're a little bit iffy. But this is one that I'm going to allow to come back, and I'm not going to make more of it because I know I didn't enjoy this one enough. So I've got a bunch of ageratum that came up from seed this year, the Houstonianum type. The icy blue one I think is a hybrid, but I have a lot of them that I'm very conflicted about whether or not I want to save them and take cuttings. They've got all kinds of different characteristics. Some of them are really beautiful. Some of them are just kind of meh. I think I really like this one. I think I'm probably going to regret taking cuttings of it, but I'm just going to pop a few cuttings over there and we'll see what happens. Being that this one is in kind of a protected space, I think that it's probably going to live from the roots, and we'll just have to see. By the way, this here on the right, I believe you can see it, is the original mother plant of the Purple in Bloom one that I showed earlier. And it didn't look as good this year. I cut it back really hard too, like the other one. And I cut it lower than the other one, and it doesn't look as good and as impressive as the other Purple in Bloom over there. I don't think I will be taking any cuttings of lantanas this year. It's tempting. I've got some that I really like, but I have a lot, and I'm having problems with lantanas that I'm not going to articulate in this video because this video is already probably so long. But this is Bandana Pink, and then I have various other ones. I took a lot of cuttings of this last year, and I'm sorry that y'all can't smell things through the camera because this is one of the scented pelargoniums. Some people call them scented geraniums, but it's not really a geranium. This smells like roses, or rose soap from your grandma's collection. It's amazing, and I don't use it enough. Today I used it in a tea. I've been having some really bad anxiety today, and this combined with a little bit of catnip really helped to kind of calm me down, keep me stable. But I don't think I'm going to take cuttings this year. It is a shame to let all this go to waste, but I don't know what to use it for. So I grow it and just kind of, I don't know. If I have the energy, maybe I will try to save some of it, but it'll grow back from the roots. It did last year. And then I guess we will continue. I'm trying not to make too many cuts in this video. I might get a few small cuttings of some other ageratum, such as this one here. Again, this is another seedling type. Really hope the camera doesn't fall over. It's a funky angle. Now, what I do want to probably show is last year please Brandon put some video clips in here to show this, but last year I covered these with banana leaves, and I believe that this patch of plants here is the same patch from last year. So it really protected them during the snowstorm that we had. I know, crazy to think we had a snowstorm, but we did. And this particular one is a very compact one versus the one I showed you by the purple and bloom salvia. This one is just, it's got really nice little mop heads of flowers. I've cut some of them off already, and it's been flowering for a while, and it's looked really amazing, as well as with the other ageratum on the other side. But every one kind of shows its own little characteristics, and I'd like to try to control a little bit better which ones I'm growing. And it's just kind of a shame that they are not as perennial as some other things, because I don't want to have to take cuttings of things and put them in the greenhouse, but here we are. So I don't usually do all of this in rapid fire, but I don't want this video to be 5 hours long. So the bananas, I try to cut them down before freezes now, because they're super gooey and difficult to deal with after a freeze. So, oh goodness. What? And as I mentioned earlier, the leaves themselves can actually be a replacement for frost blankets. Now, it's a one-time use kind of thing, unless you dry them out and really try to reuse them. You may have noticed that I don't really do a lot of plastic and things in the garden. I have a strong kind of ethical thing about plastics and polluting the garden, even though it's kind of irreparably polluted from previous owners, and also I live next to a road. But if I want to make an attempt to try to protect some plants a little bit more, this is how I would do it. I would gather some of the banana leaves, and I'm just going to cut them up into some manageable strips that I know I can kind of handle easier. Make them, kind of paper-like. It's better if they're not all shredded like this, but they will still do something even if they are shredded. So this little patch of ageratum here, which it could be doing better, this is one that I protected with the banana leaves last year. And yes, that's one of those spots that made me see just how protective banana leaves can be, or any leaves, probably even grass clippings. I had dreams of trying to get grass clippings, and these are so terrible. These are pretty shredded, but I had dreams of getting grass clippings and like drying them out and storing them in a tote, and running around to all of the plants that I really like and covering them, but just couldn't quite make that happen this year. Partly because I'd have to plan way in advance for that. It really isn't the best time of year for grass clippings. I actually haven't really mowed the yard in like 2 months or 3. So I don't know if I'm going to have enough to really properly cover this. I mean, I will if I cut all the bananas down. I'm really not sure if I will today. I'm probably going to do a really rough chop. I'm going to try to make an effort. I'm not in the best mood right now. Y'all may see I'm not speaking clearly and all of that, but now the freeze is tomorrow night, and I'm covering these today. As you may be wondering, is it okay to leave them covered that long? Well, let me tell you this. It's either leave them covered that long or they die. So as I was saying, you know, most of these will kind of survive at the root level, but if I cover them like this, way more of the plant will live, and it just puts it a little bit ahead for next year. And I've already got the banana leaves on hand, so why not? Why not? Alright guys, so I know this video is already horrifically long, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least talk a little bit about the propagation unit. I need to do a longer video about this, but basically I've got water circulating through these two gutters, comes down this bucket, gets pumped up to the top one, and runs through the whole thing. It's kind of like having propagation jars, except you don't have to fill the water every day. I used to do that. You could propagate plants in a bunch of different ways, but this is just the way that I've come up with, that I feel is the easiest for me. It has problems, but it has worked for me. I've made a lot of plants with this system and had a lot of success with it. And it's just kind of like having propagation jars, but it's a full running system, and I only have to fill this one tub and instead of a ton of jars with water. So this here is just an example. So these are some lantanas that I did decide to propagate. And as you can see, I've got roots, but I can't plant these yet. I would be planting these a lot sooner. I'd be planting them now if it were the springtime, but because there's going to be a freeze, they're just going to hang out here. It is a thing that the longer they stay here, the weaker they get, but what can you do? So this is Heartland Blue Moon. I really like that one this year, so I have cuttings of it in here, and I've got cuttings in here in this system that have been here for like over a year. Like this is a sea hibiscus from my friends in Florida, and I have just not been able to get myself to get it out of here and plant it anywhere. And now it's way too late. But it is so thoroughly rooted, and unfortunately just so chlorotic and unhappy being in here. But it's alive. I've got a few of them in here, and I'm just going to have to wait until I can plant it out in the spring, or maybe if I'm feeling very ambitious, I can plant it in a pot. So I really just want to show you real quick how I plant things in here. So as I've already said, I don't label things. I just kind of know what they are by looking at them. But what I'm going to do here is strip off the bottom leaves. I cut it close to a node. If I'm not very close to a node, I might cut a little bit closer. I usually take off most of the big leaves and definitely the flowers. I hope I said that. Sorry, I'm very scatterbrained today. And I've made a few different things here to hold the cuttings while they root. This one I don't like at all. These I made last year, and I like them a little bit better. I wish I could come up with something better, but for now I'm dealing with what I have. So yeah, basically it's pretty easy. I really try to cut off anything that's clearly only flowering, so this isn't the best cutting. Unfortunately, when I plant things, they really have to be tall to be able to either come up through both levels of this holder or to come up to the level of this holder. See, I've got two nodes here, and I may have to lose this one and have just this long stick. I'll talk about how I plant these out later, but this is just how I get them going. It only takes these a few days to root in here. And with the salvias, I definitely just take every big giant leaf off, and the flowers to compost. I usually do this very, very quickly, and you don't really want any leaves going down into the water or stems, so I try to get everything off that I can. Honestly, that's really, I need to cut that up to that node there. The salvias really can be a little bit picky, but yeah, just to there. And it would help also if I let these sit in a container for the ends to kind of seal up and callus, but I'm just rushing a little bit so that I can show you guys. But I will show you that I have another kind of method that I'm using this year, and that is this, just a box, just a shoe box, and I went out into the yard and I pulled up a bunch of fennel seedlings. I don't really eat it much, but I do use the flowers in tea. But I basically just pulled these up after the rain because the rain makes it really easy to pull things up from the roots. And then I cut the tops off and I laid them down in this container. And I've got a few things besides those. I've got some poppy mallow seedlings. I really loved this plant last year. I'll show it in the future. I don't have any good video of it right now. And some coreopsis, and the recurring theme here is that I cut off all of the major top growth and leave just the roots. And I'm trying not to leave these in here too long, but if we have another freeze in the forecast, I may be forced to just pot these up. You may be able to tell that I hate pots. That's just one thing about me. I really don't love dealing with pots and soil. I do have some soil and stuff on hand, and I've got some intentions of doing my propagating in things like this that I've saved from plant purchases, and I do have a few of the fancier seed starting trays here, or cutting trays, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I love to just have things root in the propagating unit, and then I pull them out and go plant them immediately. But as we get closer into the fall and the winter, it unfortunately becomes too dangerous to plant them. I have done a lot of planting this fall, but I think that like this is the Monarch Magic here. I think I showed you guys this in a video before, and it was all chlorotic. And after I kind of trimmed up all of the Virginia Creeper up here, which I need to trim more because it's starting to drop leaves. It really greened up. I don't know if it's just the extra light, or maybe it's something I did with the water changes in the system here, but it's looking a lot better, and I'm still going to take more cuttings of this, and I'm going to hope a lot of them survive in the ground. Maybe I'll cover some of them with banana leaves or cardboard boxes, but this is most of what I'm doing. I don't know if I can really give too much more help. If I have the energy for it, I will make some kind of effort to show what's going on during the freeze. I'm going to try, okay? I'm going to try. I was aiming for one video a week, and so far I've stuck to that pretty well the last month or so. But several videos in a weekend, ooh, I don't know. I think I can do it, though. I think I can do it. I'll just make them really quick. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for sticking to the end of this video and putting up with my long-winded rants and incoherent babblings. ADHD is fun. I will probably see you guys very, very soon.